Hello there, good people of the world. Welcome to another FlightSimSafaris video. This is going to be a pretty short one. I wanted to give you an idea for a little modification for the Britten-Norman Islander that I have done a review about a couple of weeks ago. You'll find it on my YouTube channel, and I'm going to put a link in the description below. So basically, to sum it up real quick, I think that the plane is cool in many aspects. It's very nice. It's got a nice model, and the implementation is pretty good. But there are a couple of glitches, and one of those major glitches that I think are completely unrealistic is the massively overpowered performance, climb performance, the engine performance. So another thing that I thought was unrealistic was the braking power. So if you want to do STOL hops on, for example, on Papua New Guinea with all these short grass airfields, whatever, you might have a problem because the thing doesn't brake as quickly. I'm also going to put a link in the description below. I've covered that particular fix in a different video. So now we're talking about the braking, the engine performance. The first thing that we want to take a look at is the default setting, because the plane in the default setting has just too much thrust on the props. I will demonstrate it to you, and after that we're going to take a look at the possible fix for this. So let's start the engines. Adjust the mixture real quick. To give it the best possible performance it can have. There we go. Release the parking brakes and up and away we go. See, it is accelerating rather quickly. And then I'm gonna pull back on the yoke. And as you can see, with no headwind or anything like that at all, we're going to be able to reach climb speeds of way beyond 2,000 feet per minute. And that's just a whole lot too much. This is not realistic. This plane shouldn't be able to basically use the elevator to get to, I don't know, 10,000 feet. That's just way too much. And I'm not sure what the guys from Blackbox Simulation were thinking about this, because there are official data sheets where you can take a look at the real world performance of this airplane, and it's said to be able to climb at 800 feet per minute with some cargo in it and all that. So if you're empty, add a little extra. Let's say 1,200 to 1,400 feet per minute might be a realistic value. But this, like 2,000 feet per minute, or even more than that, that's just too much. So we're going to jump out of here and begin to work on a fix for this. So quit and open up the editor. Because in the end, it's actually just adjusting two values inside the configuration file. All right. As you can see, I have Notepad++. That is my preferred editor for all kinds of things. And there, first of all, there's the power scalar value. We don't want to fumble around too much with this, because the power scalar basically means what the engines, how much horsepower the engines actually develop. The thing is, if we put that down too much, the plane will not be able to reach the original cruise speed. I'm just reducing it a slight little bit to 0.9, which is still a whole lot. But what's really important, what's really interesting is this particular value. That's the thrust scalar. The props are developing just way too much power, each one of them, way too much thrust. And we're going to change that value to 0.8, which means the plane is, if it's in level flight, it's still going to be able to make it up to the regular cruise speed. But when it comes to actually climbing, this has got a lot more realistic feel to it. So we're going to load back up. We're going to load up the simulator and take another look at how the plane is behaving right now with the changed values. So we're back in the plane with the exact same settings as before. Let the Garmin system align itself, and in the meantime we're gonna adjust the mixture to get the best performance out of the engine. There we go. We can go do our business. So now if I am taking a look at the speed tape, the acceleration is not that quickly. That's a bit more realistic. Let's pull it 70 and get this thing in the air. Trim the nose up a little bit. And now we're going to watch the vertical speed indicator. We're at 93 knots now, 94 knots, and this thing can climb 1400 feet per minute now, which is still might be a little bit more than the real thing could do. I'm not sure about that, but it feels more realistic. It's not the silly monkey plane that it has been before. So I don't know if this is any more realistic. I guess so. Maybe the airplane is even slower than that when it comes to vertical speed, but it's empty. I mean, it's empty, and there's just half fuel in the tank. So, but this makes it a little bit more enjoyable to me, because now it just doesn't. It's not as ridiculous as it's been before. So, that is my personal little fix for the exaggerated performance of the Blackbox Islander. Keep in mind, it's just two values. You can go ahead and make a backup of the current flight model file. So if what I do is not to your liking, you can just simply go back to the original state. And there's one more thing that I wanted to show you. I'm going to put this thing on pause. One more additional fix. I'm not sure about the realism of that, but I always thought that the Islander would feel quite a little bit too docile, a little bit too heavy, unresponsive. It felt more heavy than it actually is as a plane. It should be affected more by things like tailwind, crosswind, turbulences, and all that. I have been flying in the Islander as a passenger over the North Islands, north of Germany, do some island hopping, and the weather wasn't too favorable back then, and we had lots of turbulence, and the Islander was really alive at that point. But at a similar setting in the simulator, the black box version of the Islander just does not feel as alive as it was, as the real thing did. So a few values that I changed to make it a little bit more responsive on each of the axes, and make sure that it is being affected by the wind conditions just that little more than the original setting. So what you basically do is reduce the dampening values. So whenever a gust of wind hits you, the plane is not going to swallow it as easily if you lower these values. I've put it to 700 after fiddling around with these values a bit. I thought that minus 700 was a better deal than minus 1,000. Same for the dampening of roll. I reduced it another 10 to 15%. Same for the yaw dampening. I reduced that quite a bit. And also the aileron effectiveness. Now, if the dampening is being reduced and the plane moves around a lot more, then you have to increase the effectiveness of, for example, rudder and aileron, because otherwise this thing is just going to thrown around and you cannot do anything about it. But I think that the Islander, it's a pretty small plane really, and it should be able to move quite a little bit faster than what the default values are. So when I increased the aileron effectiveness quite a bit, and also the pitch stability, roll stability, I reduced these values somewhat, and the gyro stability and all that. So I will put a link down in the description below onto my website where I explain each of these values again, and just to make sure that you get an idea what all of this is doing. And as usual, you can go about it's the flight model configuration. The first one that I was talking about, the engine power, is the engines.cfg, and the other one is the flight model.cfg. So these two files you need to adjust if you want to, and then you're basically good to go. And the Islander just feels a little bit more alive and less overpowered. So that's it. I hope you have a good time, have nice people around you, and I'll see you soon on the next one. Take care.